Going, everybody. This is Dr. Jeff. I'm filling in for Jerry, who's on vacation. So I'm going to be covering his Facebook Live today. So what's always interesting about this time of year, and we're here in near the end of December, and I always remember this time of year that we were just getting down into Costa Rica in 2014, and Jerry had purchased the Rythmia property, and I had moved there and I was living on the property by myself, and I was working with the government to get us licensed medically. And the reason we were doing all of this to have this center is because, Jerry had been going through a lot previous to the first, let's see, when I met him in 2009, he intaked at a drug and alcohol rehab that I was running. I was the administrative director of a place in Malibu called Passages. And this rehab was really client focused because you would get a lot of therapy, but none of the therapies that were offered really helped Jerry a whole lot. It didn't give him momentum to continue in his sobriety after discharge. So I worked with him myself in that rehab for 2 months, and I would consult with him and coach him and talk to him. And every day I met with him, and something I learned about Jerry right off the bat was he was very focused on things that he found important. And what he found important was saving his family, saving his marriage, saving himself, and he really had a lot of drive. However, the addiction, the lack of awareness of himself, and all of the reasons that he was so upset and sad were still mysteries to him. He didn't really know how to approach any of the sort of obstacles that had held him back his whole life. So after he got out of Passages, he worked with me in my private practice in Los Angeles for another 5 years, and I worked with him all the time, almost daily, and we would do long therapy sessions, and I would try to get to the bottom of why he had so much self-loathing and why he had achieved all of these amazing things in his life, all the things the world tells you are important, like, money and houses and, you know, all kinds of that stuff that, just material items, and he was just unhappy. He was miserable. None of those things made him happy. He was really unhappy with himself. He didn't know why, and his family was slipping away from him right before his eyes. So he was just really confused because he had done everything that he had told himself was important in life. And his family had told him, his dad had told him, his friends had told him, his, mentors, his bosses from before when he was young. He had done everything they said, and he thought that if he'd followed these sort of expectations that he would be a happy person, and he just wasn't, and he didn't know why. And near the end of that 5-year period that I was working with him, Jerry he started to think about killing himself. And this was obviously, it's always an upsetting and alarming belief when you hear a patient of yours say this. So you click into certain mechanisms of safety, like, let's get him into a hospital, or let's get him on some meds. And that's the way I used to think, because I used to do medication management for all my patients out of the psychiatric hospital that I used to work at as well. And Jerry was like not interested in any of that stuff. And he said, "Look, I don't know what to do, but I just need a break from all of this." I said, "Okay, well, why don't you go take your girlfriend and go on a break, go on a vacation, like go see her family, go visit that side of the world. It's really beautiful over there. Maybe it'll give you some peace." So, of course, on his way to Southeast Asia, he got into a fight with his girlfriend, tore up her ticket, and moved and went by himself. So, typical Jerry fashion at the time. And so he was there alone in Southeast Asia, and it was a beautiful place, beautiful resort, but he was just unhappy. He was miserable. He was at a couple's resort alone. Never a good idea, by the way, if you're already depressed. So when Jerry, started posting things on social media, they were sort of alarming to people that knew him. And he would say, "This place is I hate this place. This place sucks." And it was like these gorgeous pictures of like these beautiful sunsets in the ocean. It wasn't matching. So one of Jerry's contacts that he had met through our rehab, kind of like we had a person that worked with people in aftercare, and this lady had some shamanic training. Now Jerry and I didn't really understand what that meant. We just thought it meant like, a holistic healer or maybe somebody that does Reiki or something. We just didn't, I didn't know. I wasn't trained on shamanism, in my in my doctorate in psych or my public health background. It wasn't something that I used as a tool. Let's just put it that way. So Jerry, this person happened to be in the same area doing a no speak retreat, and she wanted to meet with Jerry because she knew him a little bit and from the rehab, and she thought that she had an idea for him that could help him. So he met up with her, and she told him that there was some people she had known that were just like him, some high net worth CEO, baller, sort of like, you know, type A guys that felt like he did. They felt lost. They felt overwhelmed. They had substance abuse issues. And then she said they had gone to this place in Costa Rica, this particular shaman in this home, and they had participated in a plant medicine ceremony that had completely turned these people around. And so Jerry was intrigued, but very hesitant and very doubtful. And she challenged him to go do this. And he said, "All right, I'll do it. I got nothing else to lose." So from there, he went to LA for a couple days, and then he got some new bags and just went right down to Costa Rica. Now I hadn't understood or seen Jerry or known what he was doing. I mean, I just knew he was going to Costa Rica. I thought, good, more vacation, the better. I didn't really know what he was doing. So down in Costa Rica, he had this amazing experience, and you can read about the details in Jerry's book that's called "Shit the Moon Said," and it's a really interesting, fascinating book, and it's on Amazon or you can find it anywhere. And what happened to Jerry was life changing. He saw through this plant medicine experience, this shamanic tradition, he saw that he had been abused by his grandfather when he was very little. He remembered those thoughts and those emotions surfaced, and he was able to release them in a therapeutic way. And a lot of this stuff kind of came natural to him to kind of like dive into some sort of process and then let it go. But he was being guided by this amazing shaman who was from Africa, who is a great friend of ours to this day. But the experience was extremely, let's say, sketchy. It was a very rustic environment. There wasn't medical treatment. It was kind of seemed like it was kind of going by the seat of his pants. It didn't seem like something that most mainstream people would ever do. So what happened for Jerry in that week with this shaman is that Jerry was able to do three things that kind of happened for him during his plant medicine experience. One of them was he was able to see who he'd become. He'd become this monster, like this angry, bitter, hateful person who hated himself and hated other people. He'd become somebody that was unhappy. And then what he was able to do through this awareness of his grandfather that abused him and all these things that he saw as patterns that he remembered and that he was able to kind of revisit in a sense was that he was able to merge back with his soul. And it was very important that he did this because Jerry had been what I call dissociated probably his whole life. And what it means to be dissociated is that you're not connected to your true self. And then you go through life numb. You go through your life not really appreciating things that are emotional, not really connecting with anybody, including your family, because you're not connected to yourself. And so Jerry was able to really lower his guard, lower his hypervigilance, and connect with himself and be present with himself. And he did this at all costs because the shaman was very firm about how important that sort of intention was. So once Jerry saw who he'd become and he merged back with his soul at all costs, then he got what we call a healing. In this healing, he healed his heart for real because his heart was dark and he was unhappy and he had just didn't even know how to love anything or anyone or even himself. So he learned how to heal himself. He got what we call a new heart. He got a new chance at life. He was able to let go of the baggage that was holding him back. Trauma, upsetness, anxiety, depression, addiction, all of this stuff just left him. And the reason why all of that happened so efficiently and so quickly within a week is because this process that Jerry went through is very profound. And it's something that it's on the fringes of society because most modern Western societies are afraid or unknowledgeable about what actually goes on and how to navigate this sort of unseen emotional realm. And so when Jerry had this breakthrough, I mean, he was just like a new person. He completely dropped the addictions that he had. He completely stopped, trying to, force people to do things. He completely turned over a new leaf and he came back to Los Angeles and I met with him. And to be honest, I was floored by his affect or how he presented as a person. He wasn't smoking, chain smoking like he would. He didn't drink alcohol. I mean, he had a little bit, but he wasn't like an alcoholic anymore. He had left that behind. He wasn't doing any drugs. He started to just be more of a loving, the true self, basically, is what came through. He actually connected, and he called it a miracle. And he said he got a miracle because 50 plus years of living a certain way, flipping it around, and then being happy. So he had me go down with him a little while later, about 3 weeks later, and I was in Costa Rica in August-ish of 2014, and I went through the same process, and I was like, "Wow, this is an incredible tool that we could use for other people because this is something that's so profound. I've never seen anything like this in my entire life." And I've been trained at UCLA and other hospitals and other health centers all throughout Los Angeles. I'd seen it all basically. And so I had never seen anything like this. And so what we did is we developed a program in Costa Rica where people can come to heal themselves. They can come for 1 week and they can have a similar experience to Jerry. They can merge back with their soul after they've seen who they've become and they can heal themselves. We get a lot of people with trauma, with anxiety, with depression. All these people from all over the globe have been to Rhythmia. We've had roughly 20,000 people come through these doors. We don't call ourselves an ayahuasca center. We call ourselves a life advancement center because ayahuasca, while it is an important key modality of our plant medicine experience, it's only 4 of 36 events that you will have in your week. So we are the number one ayahuasca center. I shouldn't call it a center. I just said we don't call it that, but we're the number one provider of ayahuasca in the world in the safest possible manner because of our medical license that we have. Now, this medical license is from the Costa Rican Ministry of Health. Costa Rica is a very serious country for healthcare. It's number 3 in the world for general medicine. So this is a serious place with a lot of serious doctors and health advisors and administrators. So this license, we hold it very dear because it allows you to feel safe. You can come to Rhythmia, you can get your miracle, you can heal yourself, you can work on these intentions and have these 3 intentions happen for you, and you can finally put the past behind you and move forward in a way that you can be happy, healthy, and successful. We have people, like I said, we have 18-year-old is the youngest, all the way up to we've had women and men in their 90s come. We've had people of all ages, all countries, from all over the world, and they've done incredible. Our success rate for people when they leave and we ask them, "Did you get your miracle?" That's what we talk about a lot. And it's right now 98.6% say yes when they leave, which is mind blowing. Most of the weeks, it's 100% of the people say it. Last week, I believe it was 100%. And I know the week before was 100%. So there's just this incredible healing energy that happens at Rhythmia. And it's based on the breath work, the meditation, the yoga, the food, the the hydrocolonic cleanses, the body, the massages, the gym, the cold plunge, the ayahuasca. We have 4 of those ayahuasca sessions in a week. We work with everybody. As long as you're medically cleared, we have to help you go through some questions first on the phone. You call our 800 number, you're going to get a sales associate. They're going to ask you some medical questions because you have to be safe to do this medically and physically. So we have a lot of doctors on site. We have a lot of nurses. We have 4 doctors and 12 nurses. We have paramedic. We have tons of staff there. 235 staff members are on site at Rhythmia. This is a big operation. This is a place where you can come and you can just focus on yourself. You can do your own healing. I witnessed Jerry's healing. I never thought he would ever get to this point in his life. I had as a therapeutic goal just to keep him alive because I had met his kids, I had met his wife, I had met his friends, and they were all scared. And I just said, "Look, I promise you, I will do whatever I can to keep this dude alive." And that was my therapeutic goal, survival. I never thought he would be able to dive deep, figure out where this pain was coming from and why he was acting the way he was, and that he would be able to turn it around and then become one of the most loving, connected, empathic people I've ever known, who's dedicated his life and all of his money and all of his entire life has been dedicated to Rhythmia since he bought the place. It's an honor to work with him. It's incredible. And I'm just blown away by the people I meet every week at Rhythmia. And everyone comes and they're all scared and they're all nervous and they're all worried and they're all doubtful. And then by the end of the week, they are the biggest fans because they just did their own healing. They did their own therapeutic work. So come to Rhythmia, get your miracle, get your intentions knocked out, and we'll see you down in Costa Rica, hopefully very soon.